All right, we are back again with another episode of the ElevateBiz podcast slash live show slash whatever else we want to call this thing.
Extravaganza.
Extravaganza. I love it. I love it. Well, very clearly, you are not Dr. Katie. So we have someone in from the Catalyst team, from the ElevateBiz team. Emma is here with us. Emma, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know me, I am the Chief Strategy Officer at Catalyst Development. So I'm Katie's left arm or right arm. I can't remember which one Jenna and I are, but we're the right and left arms of Dr. Katie. And so I do a lot of our marketing. So I'm here to talk about that.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to have this conversation with you in particular. It's been a blessing to get to know you and Dr. Katie really over the last year or so. I've known Jenna for several years, but kind of streamlined and Catalyst coming together for this cool partnership of ElevateBiz. It's really allowed me to learn from you guys, but just really get to know you guys as humans. It's been a lot of fun to get to know you guys' different interests and see how you take the business side of what you do and then do some really dope stuff in your personal lives as well. So I'm excited to kind of dive into all of it. But today for episode 5, we'll be talking about the power of storytelling. And I think you kind of being the marketing arm of Catalyst and ElevateBiz, it really makes sense that you are here. So I guess so my audience could be a little more familiar with you. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into it and what else you do besides ElevateBiz and Catalyst?
Yeah. So my background, I started with graphic design. So my mom owned a local newspaper when I was growing up, actually. And so I literally, even as a kid and as a teenager, would kind of learn about page layout because I was watching people in the newspaper office after school, So that's how I started learning about layout and design. And so my first 2 years of college, I actually studied graphic design. Fun fact, I switched my major because I thought that in order to be a graphic designer, you needed to be able to be an illustrator. I thought you needed to be able to draw, and I really can't draw. So that's why I changed my major. I really just had that in my head. And looking back, I'm like, that's not true at all. I definitely could have been a designer, but whatever. I still do a lot of design. So with Catalyst Development, and I remember it's kind of funny when I first met Katie, it was a job interview, and she asked me, I see on your resume that you have somewhat of a background in graphic design and marketing. How does that help you in your jobs? And I was like, well, it just depends on the job because it's one of those skills. Marketing and design is a skill that you never know how it's going to come in handy, but it always does. And sure enough, that has become a huge part of my job here at Catalyst.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that's just ever growing and ever evolving as well. It's like I have 12 years of marketing experience, my businesses and whatnot, mainly online, social media, all that kind of stuff, but have like zero skills when it comes to graphic design and making something like look good type situation. And for my own needs in the past, it's like one of those situations where I feel like if you have any kind of skill set in that, I think people who don't have the skill set are calling on you and almost like, hey, you can kind of do this. You can figure this out, right? Has that been your experience?
Oh, absolutely. And what is crazy to Jenna and Katie, and they always say this, is like, you get it done so fast. Like you can figure it out so quickly. You can go in and whip something up that would have taken me hours and hours and hours. So yeah, it's definitely a very useful skill set that I've developed over the years. And I've used it in just about every job I've had. Plus, as you sort of alluded to, I have a very vibrant personal life as well.
Yeah.
I'm a singer and a songwriter, and so I've been marketing myself as an independent artist. We tend to wear lots and lots and lots of hats, and one of them is marketing. And so I've marketed myself for years and just always been keeping up with my skills on the marketing side, as well as everything else.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. It's funny because I didn't know you, but I would see you here and there and whatnot. And I'd say one thing that you are really good at is storytelling, some of the things that you do and your brands. And it's kind of really put together nicely when it comes to that. And so with this partnership that we're doing, launching ElevateBiz, our 20-week cohort where we're helping business owners be able to grow their business so they can buy their time back, grow their income, and all the fun things that we're trying to do that we initially set out to do with entrepreneurship. This is an incredibly important one because as business owners and as entrepreneurs, we set out because we're usually typically really good in one area or another. Like we're really good at making a cup of coffee. We're really good at creating curriculum. We're really good at massages or whatever the thing is. However, we don't really understand the other portions of business. And what I've seen is usually it comes down to, hey, I'm an expert at this thing, but how do I let the world know that I'm an expert at this thing? And so you have a lot of experience, graphic design, marketing, all those kinds of things. This new wave of the inbound versus outbound marketing experience, outbound being the old way of doing it, the prospecting, and it's still very relevant, especially B2B, but like this insurgence, this big kind of uptick of inbound marketing being incredibly important. Content marketing, which we talked about a couple weeks ago on the podcast, a lot of that is birthed through storytelling. So do you have any initial thoughts of the importance just in general of storytelling, maybe how it's worked out with what y'all do at Catalyst and kind of what we're doing over at ElevateBiz?
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs, I think that you have to think about storytelling in two different ways for marketing. One is the ability to tell your own story, and two is the ability to tell your customer's story. And the book that I would recommend is Building a Story Brand. I think I'll need to look up the author, but it's Building a Story Brand. It's a really great book to learn about how to tell your customer's story and how to get them to see you and your business as part of their story. So that's definitely one side of storytelling. And then the other, as I said, is the part where you're being able to tell your story as an entrepreneur, your story as a business, where it comes from, why people should care about it. So there's definitely those two arms, and I think we'll go dive into both of those. What are your initial, is that like, which one of those do you think of when you hear storytelling and marketing?
I think a lot of times I don't even think about telling the customer's story. It makes sense when you think about it. And it makes sense when you flip it around and you're like, I know this company is doing it to me because they're showing me my current existence, which makes me connect to them. I don't think we understand on a conscious level that Coca-Cola is doing this ad because they're showing me who I am so I could connect to their story, then in turn connect to them, the big brand. But that's exactly what they're doing. So I think for me, it always comes down to telling the story of the company itself, in that what I've seen in my own journey, but also clients that I have and friends that we mutually have as well, is sometimes they don't even see the importance in storytelling in general. I would say I'm more in that camp. I would probably say in the last 3 years, discovered the importance of storytelling.
Yeah.
Before that, it was straight lead generation, lead conversion. What can I do to get you in this funnel, to get you working all the way down and show you the right things and have the right pitch and add enough value? So then you look at this thing, you're like, yep, I want to buy, to convert you to a sale. And yes, that works. But I think the studies are showing nowadays that there's no higher even converting tool than storytelling and brand building when it comes to that. And so we're just getting into that with Yogurtini, and I'm incredibly blown away with the results of it. So I'm definitely more on the tell our story as the business, and then that would at least let them know who we are, where we come from, all that kind of stuff, so they can even attach to us as an entity, a face behind the entity, not just an entity with no, people behind the scenes.
It's so funny that you say you hadn't really thought about it that way, because you're so much this like pragmatic business person and you are really good at all the parts of, the lead generation and all that. But it's funny because coming from my background, that's all storytelling was like the entire thing. I'm a songwriter. And so telling stories is really all I do.
Yeah.
And so it never occurred to me. And I've always struggled with actual like business lead generation because I have always been the one telling the stories. And so the
Huh.
actual pragmatic side of getting people into a funnel, I'm like, okay, that sounds hard. I don't know.
Yeah, like, what does that mean? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Huh. Well, that's the one reason why I've, really been watching Catalyst and what you guys do. And you all do a good job of telling the story. And I love the marrying of them both together. Like, you have to have a funnel. I don't know how many clients and friends I have that are that. They're really good at the brand, they're really good at the story, but they
Mhm.
miss out on the lead generation, the lead conversion side. But I also see the flip where it's like straight numbers, here and this, and
Yeah.
it's they're not telling the story. So it's hard to get the numbers and volume you need to even put the people in the funnel so they can then go down, so you can have some variation of a percentage of people who are actually converting at a high rate. And so
Yeah.
I love both components of them. I love it even more when they're mirrored and those two strategies go together. Because what I found with myself, but also people who have some semblance of understanding the pipeline, it is a compounding domino effect when you can overlay that with good branding and storytelling on
Yeah.
top of it. So when they do start looking for your website or your product, now they have the funnel to enter into. So it's really good on the front side, I think, to have that strong brand, that strong story, and not just telling story for story's sake. Like you said, allowing them to see themselves in that. So would it be possible, since this is kind of what you do, to go a level deeper in that, into almost the other side of telling the story of the customer?
Yeah. So, how I understand that is I see it every day in my own life, examples of it, because like everyone, my Instagram ads have gotten just creepy. I mean, the algorithm is so good. And so, just like everyone, the ads are telling me every single day about products that I didn't know I needed, but they're not telling me about the products first. What they're doing first is they're telling me about a problem that I have.
Hmm.
And so they are telling my story and they're helping me understand my story and having a way of expressing my story and understanding it. They're saying, you really don't like the razors that you use because they're expensive and the heads are, you always lose them or whatever. And they're telling that story to me. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Now that you mention it. So they're telling me that story. And then they're coming in as the guide. This company is coming in as the guide and saying, you know what? Don't worry. We got you. We understand your problem and we can fix it. We can help you fix it. We're going to be your guide. And here's, and it'll be like other women talking about their experience and they look just like me and they it's very they're telling my story and then they're inserting themselves into my story and they're helping me solve all of my problems. And
It's so
so
good.
that is kind of what I mean when I say you're telling the customer's story. You're inserting yourself as their on their hero's journey. You're their guide that's going to lead them to the solutions to their problems. In the case of Yogurtini, are your kids just a total mess after they get home from school and they're, being brats? And sometimes you need just a family outing. You need to go somewhere and just have some family time and a treat for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the customer story. That's not anything about you.
Yeah.
So far, there's nothing about Yogurtini in that statement. It's simply these are the problems that the customer is having.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very interesting because you can feel when it's happening to you, whether it's on a conscious level or an unconscious level. On
Mhm.
the flip, when it doesn't feel good, when you see an ad or you see something like that and you're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm repulsed by that. I don't know what it is, but it feels slimy. I don't know what it is, but I just don't resonate with that. I don't know what it is, but they're not talking to me in that scenario.
Yep.
So you know that on a human psychology level because you feel it. in you as well. You know, people always talk about do marketing in a way where it doesn't feel like marketing. It's like do storytelling in a way where you don't know you're being story told too, but on the flip, that works as well. It's very interesting in that regard as well, because even with the ElevateBiz, with what we're doing and what we're serving here in the Kansas City metro area, we know the pain points of our people. We've had friends who've popped on our website, and when they went to it, they're like, "Did you get in my? Are you in my head? Like, what's going on here?" Because we very intimately know our person. We know their struggles. We know what keeps them up at night. We know this because we've tested it. Catalyst has worked with clients. Streamlined has worked with clients. We're also the person that we wish we would have
Yeah.
had on the front side, the organization we wish we would have had, because entrepreneurship is extremely hard. But that works for ElevateBiz. I think, man, it's really exciting, but I've been hearing a lot of like trades coming back, like a lot of focus on gutter cleaners and lawn mowers and HVAC and all these different things. Actually, HVAC is one of the test companies we're going to use next week when Dr. Katie and I do our Global
Great.
Entrepreneurship Week workshop. But like those trades that are so important, because college is getting very expensive. We can't all go to college anymore because we can't afford it. So if we go right into trades in that regard, there's a big discrepancy in the trades companies that are just absolutely killing it and the ones who are just trying to find clients that are saying 20% off, 30% off, just hire me to mow your grass or whatever it is. And it's that story. It's that story. They're portraying it back to you in a really great radio ad or TV ad or social media post or whatever it is, really making you see like, hey, this person's talking to me, which elicits a really quick reaction, a phone call, a website visit, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, and part of it, of course, especially with services like that, is timing. You hear the ad at the right time and it resonates with you when you actually need that product. So that's part of it. But also, I think there's an aspect of what separates those people who are great marketing storytellers and those people who feel, as you said, a little slimy when you hear it or when
Yeah.
you see it. What separates that, I think, is just the authenticity of like, this is a product that is good. You know, it really helps when you have a good product and you actually believe in it. That is literally the first step of good marketing, is having something good to sell. And then the second one is just being able to understand the customer, because you made something that you felt was missing in the world. You're offering a product that you feel can actually help people. And that comes off authentically when you're talking about it. Like when we talk about ElevateBiz, you know, we've been there. We are entrepreneurs. We've seen these struggles firsthand and then secondhand through our friends and families. And so it feels authentic because it is like we created something that we felt was needed.
Yeah, so good. The sun's perfectly coming in on my camera, so I look very dusty or whatever. It's showcasing all the stuff that's on my lens. So, you know, there you go. There's that. That's
It's a
exciting.
nice little, it's like a special effect.
Like a little filter that's on it. So we're doing this on purpose. But that's so cool when it comes to that. So one thing that I get when I talk to clients about this, and we're talking about, hey, do I keep like throwing the ads out, or how can I get into the storytelling? Because it feels like so long. Like, to be able to get the results, is it going to give me results now? Or do I have to wait a long time? And can I afford it? I can't afford this big
Right.
marketing agency to be able to do this and all this kind of stuff. What is a grassroots, you know, budget friendly way to be able to storytell? Let's say you can't necessarily afford the agency or the VA who can do this, or the marketing specialist or whatever it is. Like, what is a budget friendly way for the solopreneur or someone who maybe doesn't have that marketing budget to start storytelling today?
Number one, video content. The stuff like what we're doing right now, we're literally doing that low budget sort of marketing. We're telling our story right now through a video medium, and that is one of the easiest, quickest, cheapest ways to market yourself, because you have in your back pocket literally a very powerful tool and camera that can just, you can turn it on anytime and you can talk about your story, why you started your business, you know, why you felt like it was needed in the world, a customer that you just helped. You can get out your phone and film yourself talking about that anytime. And people really, really connect with human faces. People, that's why influencer marketing is so big right now, because we all recognize that we're social creatures, and when we see other humans, it feels better when you're getting it from not just text on a screen or on a flyer or on a billboard, but you're also seeing that human person saying authentic things about their business.
Yeah.
So,
So there has to be something there with some sort of storytelling. Before we hopped on, I asked you what in the heck is behind you, and you said that's your couch. So was there some storytelling around that? Like, why that couch? Can you show us the full kind of thing of it so we understand what we're looking at? And
yeah. So this is
why that? That has to be some sort of example of storytelling in some way or another, or proper branding or whatever.
Yeah, so my fiance and I, Josh, we both love design. We both love bright colors, and we both love mid-century art and furniture. And so we have developed our style, and I'm not going to show you my whole place right now because it's a mess, but we have developed a very particular style that's a pinpoint in time. It's like 1967 to 1972, and it's all space age kind of style, brightly colored furniture. And we love it. We resonate with it. We think it's beautiful. And we, you know, here's my Werner Panton book. That's one of our favorite designers. He was a furniture designer. And so it's become part of our branding as a couple. And when you come to our house, you come to our Christmas party, everyone is excited to sit on all of our weird furniture. And, you know,
That's awesome.
so yeah, it's part of our brand as people, as a couple.
That's cool. What does it mean? So we're talking about the power of storytelling. So we're talking about in the way of we're intentional. This business, they are trying to tell a story. They are trying to create a brand. They're trying to let their customers, clients, prospects in on who they are and whatnot. Regardless if you're trying, a story is being told and crafted. Either you're crafting it or it's being crafted for you. What does that look like to the business owner or just the individual that maybe isn't as intentional about telling their followers, supporters, and viewers the story that they want them to see, but they're kind of just leaving it up to chance?
Well, like you said, people are going to come up with their own versions, their own stories, and they're going to wonder if they see your content, and maybe not even actively wonder, but they'll just concoct stuff in their heads. One thing I've seen some business owners doing lately is coming onto either Instagram stories or Facebook, and they'll say, you know, ask me anything. What do you want to know about? Like, I'm just, for the next 24 hours, I'm going to answer all your questions. And then people can actually ask, like, hey, how'd you get this idea? Or, you know, where did this come from? Or will this work for me? Because I'm not sure because of X, Y, and Z. I mean, I've participated in those. You know, I just sent in a question to someone recently about, well, I eat plant-based, so will this workout routine, like, will it work for me because this X, Y, and Z? So it's really nice to be able to get some feedback from your potential clients of, you know, what are the things in their heads that you're not answering already. And so just straight up asking them is a really good way of doing that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's so good. Yeah. This is it's a very interesting thing when it comes to this. And you said earlier, I asked you like, hey, what does this look like? And you immediately said video content. You know, the algorithms are changing, these social media and, you know, search engines and everything are changing. And it definitely seems like it's going more to the video content, but it also seems like it's the easiest way to get the message across quicker is by verbally speaking it versus even a blog. Blogs are incredibly important. I think they'll always be important. I think what a blog means will be ever changing also, but I think there's one way of verbally speaking it. They can see your face, they can see your likeness, they can see your mannerisms versus even putting it in a social media caption or a blog or anything like that. What are your thoughts on the effectiveness of video versus anything else in the current age?
I think the reason why it is more effective is because really all you're trying to do in marketing is get people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. Because once they get to that third part, they will hire you
Mhm.
to do whatever it is that you do, as long as they feel that they can trust that you're going to get them whatever result that they are desiring. And so video content goes so far so quickly with that because, like I said, of the human connection, and your voice and your face are unique to you. And so that is what's going to set you apart from everyone else, your style. Even if there are 100 other people in your city doing exactly your same kind of business, what sets you apart is you. I mean, your particular style and your authenticity of who you are. So that's why video content goes over so well, because people are trying, they just want to see, they want to put a face to the name of the company. And if they feel like they know you, then they're more likely to hire you.
Yeah.
So that's I think why people resonate with it. And I think it could work for just about any kind of company. You know, we haven't had Jenna on here yet, but
Yet.
her boyfriend is, you know, he makes patios. And I still think that even for a business like that, that Lucas could pop onto his phone and say, like, hey, we just finished this patio. This was a really fun project. Putting a face to that business, I think would be really effective because people are like, oh yeah, that guy looks trustworthy. You know,
Yeah.
I would definitely have him do my patio.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I was like, I'd actually Google what pragmatic meant when you said that about me earlier because I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Seems to be a good thing.
It is.
That's one thing that I think that even though I didn't understand completely of the reversing it type thing, has always made sense because not that I had some grand insight a long time ago, but I just simply observe and I knew my own things. I was very confused why I was getting so loyal to these brands
Mm,
that I didn't know anyone in it or anything like that, but they were
yeah.
doing such a good job of showing maybe not the owner's face, but like faces that I resonated with. And that was so
Mhm.
cool. So, like I said, Coca-Cola earlier, like, I don't know why, but I'm so pro Coke versus Pepsi. Like, I don't remember the last time I had a Pepsi. Exactly right there. Like, I haven't had a Pepsi in probably 25 years, and I'm 34
Yeah.
years old because I won't drink it because I'm so loyal to Coke. And I don't have a reason really to be other than at some point they did a really good job of making me love the brand when it came to competing to other sodas. Such an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And now it's part of your story, it's part of your identity. You're like, I'm a guy who likes Coke.
mhm,
And so I like Coca-Cola products, and that's part of who I am. Even though it's obviously it's not like a big part of who you are, but it is part of you. And so
mhm,
once you get to that point where you identify with a product, that's when, you know, the company obviously has you for life because you've identified yourself as this is me, this is part of who I am. I always have a Diet Coke with me.
yes, yes, 100%. And so, when we're talking about that, I love this conversation because I think we said the best way is to be able to show faces. It's to be able to show
Mhm.
faces, voice, mannerisms, even though we get away from the human experience and the in-person connection that we used to have back in the day, we still yearn for it, even if you don't know,
Mhm.
if you are. And so when it comes to that, the very best way is to be able to do it in person or video, some sort of human interaction. What if I don't like being on video? What if I just can't bring myself to do it? When I'm having this conversation with clients, I say having some variation of storytelling and branding is better than not doing it at all. So if you can't show up with your face on camera, then maybe you just show up with your voice. If you
Mhm.
can't show up like on video or just audio, maybe you use your other skills. I have friends that are really good authors and writers. And I go to their website and I'm like, you don't even have a blog here, but like your thing is writing. Like if your thing is writing, I would love to see you show up on camera, but if you can't do it and won't do it, you better get writing so you can make these stories come alive so people can still connect to you. I mean, the Harry Potter books, just in general, like amazing storytelling and all the things. I remember reading the first one when I was in elementary school and like amazing stories. I don't know how people feel about Harry Potter nowadays, but when those were coming out and the movies and
I'm
everything,
still obsessed.
are you? My wife is obsessed as well. I'm like, I don't all the way get the craze, but all right.
Yeah, it's funny. You're a little nicer than me because depending on the type of company or depending on the type of product, oftentimes our clients, my clients, if they say, I don't want to show up on video, I say, too bad, do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's that's a little tough love. I think if at all possible, you should. But
Mhm.
to your point, yes, I think writing is an extraordinary way of building trust. But the problem is you have to get somebody to read what you're writing.
Yep.
And so building a blog is amazing. And I literally have this woman who she's one of my favorite authors that I call her my friend accidentally sometimes because she doesn't know me, but because I've read so much of her stuff and I read her blog every week, I'm like, oh yeah, my friend. Josh is always like, that girl that doesn't know you.
That's
but
awesome.
but that's the point is that through your authentic voice and through your writing and through your the way that you show up on camera, whatever, is you can really get into someone's life in that way. And once you're in there, you can sell them phone books and they will say, absolutely, how much?
Yeah. I was watching something the other day. They were talking about that exact same thing. When your branding and the storytelling is so good, and you get to the point where someone inherently, deeply, deeply thinks they really know you.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a parasocial relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
you are literally in a relationship with someone,
Yep.
same sex, different sex, whatever it is, because you feel like you know them so well and you've never met them and you probably never will meet them. And it's a really, really uh interesting concept. It's I know I've had it before and I've had it done to me where someone sees me on social or whatever it is and I'm out at an event, they come up to me and just start talking to me and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Have we met? What's your name? And we had that conversation. Well, I've done the same thing to people who
Yep.
are in the metro and I'm big fans of. And I did that actually. So I'm on the board of Big Brothers Big Sisters and we had an Empower breakfast a few months ago. And one of the speakers were there and she came off stage and I really wanted to have a conversation with her. And I just like came up to her and started talking to her as if she knew me. And she did the same thing to me. She's like, wait, have we met? Do I know you? And so that was very interesting because, yeah, we have this parasocial relationship. Her brand is so strong and she let us in to let her get to know her on a certain level where I'm like, we're homies. Why would you not know who I am? So that was an
Yeah.
interesting case study on both sides.
That's so funny. And it's so true because we are really living in the age of parasocial relationships. But I just want to say to the audience that's listening, that's not creepy and it doesn't have to be creepy. Of course it can be creepy, but it's not weird at all because we're living in an age where we put our lives and we put our brand and our businesses out for people to consume. And we do that on purpose and we
Yep.
want them. I mean, obviously you can be as private as you want to be. But with all the information that you're putting out, you have to understand people are going to consume your content and feel like they know you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've kind of said the same thing. I think that you really nailed it. It doesn't have to be a weird thing. It doesn't have to be a creepy thing. I think it's also an honor too to be able to
Totally.
use this medium that is free. I know we complain about social media a lot and I'm up there too. I complain about it, but it is
Me too.
still free. I remember advertising before social media was a thing, and you had to pay for everything. Trying to put ads in radio and trying to put ads in newspaper and like all of those things costed money. So,
Yeah.
as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur, as we're kind of doing this thing, start just flirting with it. Try the storytelling aspect. Maybe you are huge into the specials and discounts and all that kind of stuff, and that's working, and you're scared to get away from it because you can see the numbers that are pushing actual sales. I'm not saying kill it yet. I'm saying maybe go from 100% of that being your posts or more of your revenue generating things, and maybe take it down to 90% and do 10% of storytelling, and use the medium, hopefully video, to be able to not necessarily have something that's so super curated, but maybe it's just showing up. And like Gary Vee says, no matter how you feel about him, right or left or in the center, documenting what's going on, what you did, what you're about to do in relation to your business and the product or service that you are serving. Please have it be relevant, and see how it works. And as you get comfortable, start doing a little bit more of it, and then a little bit more. And don't feel weird whenever something fails. You're going to fail. We're human. We're business owners. We fail every single day. It is what it is. But try it, try it, try it. And would love for you to reach out to Emma and myself and ask questions, but also just say, hey, this worked. I started this new medium and I'm getting more calls. I'm getting more website visits. I'm getting more comments or DMs whenever I post something that's more storytelling. I'm like that for my personal brand right now, and it's been really cool to see the difference. Less likes, but more shares and more conversations and comments and direct messages. And it has created a deepness and a richness with a couple of people who are replying to everything that I post. And I've already known these people for years, but it's creating a cool conversation that's happening. And we're doing this across Kansas City. We don't have to be in a coffee shop having a cup of coffee together.
Yeah. Well, before we go, I just want to give some very practical, like I feel like maybe I need to give some very specific homework or practice that you can
talk
do.
To the people. Talk to us.
Yeah, because I want to give value here in these podcasts. And so I would say like homework would be make some reels if you're on Instagram, or make some TikToks if you're on TikTok, or do a live stream. Just try it. Dip your toe in the water. It's going to be fine. Make a little reel of just, don't sell anything. You don't have to sell. Just showcasing something about your business or just part of your day, or what, maybe even do like a vlog where you're showing a day in the life or something like that. Make a reel if you haven't done it yet. And then another thing that I think is very accessible to everyone is then using Facebook or Meta ads. Just start trying to tell your story through photographs and, like we talked about, your writing, and then start dabbling in ads a little bit. Go to business.facebook.com. Don't just boost your posts, but go to business.facebook.com and start messing around with using this very powerful medium that we have access to in 2023, which is very cheap ads that you can do a little trial and error, and just start sharing your story with people who are outside of your network. So those are two things. Start getting outside of your network through ads, and start making a little bit of video content. Even if you're uncomfortable with it, do it anyway.
That's good. That's good. Well, there's your guys' homework right there. I think that's a great way to do it. And she never said be perfect. She never said get it right the first time. She said just try it, start, experiment, practice with it, and then you'll get better and better and better. So I love it. I love it. Any other thoughts before we head out?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here, Emma. This was really, really good. I know that we'll have to have you on more before the February 7th launch, but if anyone out there has any questions for either one of us, please reach out. You can find us on social media. If you have any questions about ElevateBiz and what we're bringing to the market February 7th, 2024, please go to ElevateBizKC.com or follow us on our socials at ElevateBizKC as well. We'd love to answer your questions and just see if you're a good fit. And if you're not, we know a lot of other programs in the city, and we'll link you up with the people who are running those to get you the success that you need in wherever you're at with your business. So I think that's all for now. We will be back. Well, we won't be back next week because Dr. Katie and I will be live at PlexPod next week for Global Entrepreneurship Week. as we talk about sustainable businesses. It's going to be 90 minutes. It's going to be a good facilitation time for us to get deep into how to grow your business and then eventually scale. So join us there. The week after is Thanksgiving, so we'll skip then, and then we'll be back the next week after that with our regular podcast once a week. So love you guys. We'll see you next week at Global Entrepreneurship Week.